Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Daily Records Off the Record podcast with me, David McCarthy, and Keith Jackson, as we once again delve through our contacts book to bring you the biggest names in Scottish football to talk about the biggest stories in Scottish football over the years. Today we're speaking to a man who has been one of the biggest influences on our game, both as a player and a manager, since the early 80s when he was part of the Aberdeen team that conquered Europe. He scored for Scotland at a World Cup, played for English giants Leeds and Manchester United, and embarked on a managerial career that saw him return to his Scottish roots in 2005 to follow in Martin O'Neill's footsteps as manager of Celtic. 3 league titles, 2 League Cups, and a Scottish Cup, and the last 16th place in the Champions League. Later, he left for Middlesbrough before heading back up the road again to manage Scotland in 2013. Two last 16 places in the Champions League.
Back to back.
Back to back. Okay. Before heading back up the road to manage Scotland in 2013, before leaving his post 4.5 years later, he's still involved in the game as technical director at Dundee and can be found most Saturday mornings watching the club's flourishing academy kids in action. I know because I've seen them. A very warm welcome to Gordon Strachan.
Good day. How are you?
Hello again.
Hello again. I see you've still got on the same clothes as last week, and so have we.
Well, I was going to put a tie on to make it look different. Minging, by the way. Here on for a week.
By the way, this
Lucky
career.
You get aerosols for 96 hours now.
You think this has gone on a long time? Your career has almost been 50 years.
Oh,
it's astonishing.
I know. And most of it's been sitting in front of you two.
Just the enjoyable bits.
There we go.
Gordon, see before, and I only know this from Wikipedia. I don't think we've ever discussed it, but I don't know if you've seen your own Wikipedia page. But before,
you're joking.
Before it all starts, before you sign for Dundee, before you get the move to Aberdeen in '77, there's a line in there that it nearly didn't start at all because of an eye injury that you picked up playing football at school. Is that factually correct? Did that happen? How close did it get to never being able to have a career in football?
Well, when I did it, I thought, oh, Jesus, I'm at a problem here. But I never thought about playing. I just wanted to play football at that point.
Right.
And yeah, I'm half blind in one eye.
Is that right?
Yeah. So fortunately, I can only see David.
That's a real problem.
Yeah, and it was. I was going from one class to another, and you see a ball, right? I'll kick it about, show everybody how good it is. But I stumbled and fell, and my hand went on the ground with a pen, and I fell. And my head went right on the pen, and it went to shoot to the back of my eye and nicked the optic nerve. And so I went to the headmaster, typical in the days. I went, by the way, there's blood pouring from my eye here. And he says, I can go home. He went, no, just have a lie down in the settee for a bit. So I lie.
Go to the medical room.
No, I didn't even have a medical room. So I eventually went home and they took me to hospital. I was in hospital for about 2.5 weeks. So, so it's never been a major. There's a couple of things that makes a problem. But when I went to Man United, because I always turned my back on the ball because I always didn't want anything hit my eye because I knew fine well if I lost the other half of it, I might be in trouble here. But I didn't really think about it during the game unless it was in a wall. And I went to Man United and Ron Atkinson says, right, you know what it's like, right, kid, you can go in the wall there. I went, 2 things. I'm small and I'm a coward. So there's no point in putting me in the wall. Right? So that was it. So I go, what's up with you? And I said, I've got something wrong. All right, okay. So he put me somewhere else. And then the other big factor is when I went to Leeds, if you can remember rightly, when I went to Leeds, it was a wonderful deal. And it was a great deal for my family. And I thought I must get through this medical.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember rightly, he's at Hartford had a medical at Leeds and he had a heart problem. So the Leeds thing was so strict and strenuous medical. It was over 2 days, and my eye test come along, and so my good eye is this one. So I had to put this is my bad one. So I read the A B C D da blah blah blah, and the guy says, right, change. I went, okay. So I just changed. And I read it out. He went, "That's perfect." I went, "Thank you." And I went out the door. And he became one of my best mates, actually, this lad. Yeah, I had that, but I got started. It's never really been a problem as such. No.
Mm-hmm. Well, incredible, but I mean, had a split millimetre left or right, and
Aye, yeah.
we're not having this conversation just now, I guess. It's unbelievable.
Oh, blast! There would have been a come to that then.
There's always a downside.
So, you've cut your teeth in at Dundee, Gordon. I guess the big moment, first really big moment is the move to Pittodrie, and I think it was November '77. You signed for Billy McNeill, and obviously the club's going places at that point. And within a year, you're joined by Alex Ferguson. Billy's gone back to Celtic. Alex Ferguson becomes the manager, and it's a chapter in the club's history that it's never going to be surpassed. I mean,
no.
And we're coming up to a very important anniversary, obviously, of 1983. You'll be a big part of the club's celebrations. I mean, you just must look back on that as almost like a real life fairy tale to have been involved in. At the time, I'm guessing it just felt perfectly natural, but looking back now, it's ridiculous what happened.
Yeah, and you got to remember that at that period of time, which I would say people might disagree, it might be in the 60s, where Celtic won the European Cup for the first time, which was tremendous. Rangers got to a final early 70s. They got a final as well in the 60s as well. But in the 80s, first of all, when I got to Aberdeen, but I thought it was hunky-dory. I was useless for a year. I mean, absolutely minging. I was the one, when they're naming out the team, and when the team comes up, number 6, Wally Muller, way, number 7, Gordon Strachan. Oh, Jesus Christ! You get that mumbling sound, which I've always hated naming, shouting teams out like that. Anyway, yeah, if you think about this 80s, and people think that Aberdeen dominated left, right, and centre, well, you had Dundee United and Celtic. Celtic are a right good side there at that time. If you look at the early 80s, they won the league twice. Dundee United won it once. And I looked it up recently, and in the form guide and the rankings in Europe, Aberdeen were first and once and second and the top 10. Celtic got to 11th in that in UEFA rankings, and Dundee United were between 11th and 15th at times. So to win that league at that time, you had Rangers. You've got to beat 2 of the top teams in Europe to win the league, which is phenomenal. It wasn't just beating teams in Scotland. You were beating the best. Dundee United were getting to finals and beating Barcelona. Celtic were beating Dundee and us, and they won it twice. People tend to forget what a wonderful side Celtic had. With Davy Provan, Paul McStay, Aitken, Charlie Nicholas. It was wonderful. That period was a wonderful period for Scottish football, and the competitiveness was unbelievable. And the Dundee United team, magnificent. There's a Rangers team there who were always going to give you problems. We had to play them a couple of finals, but always there. So you had to beat the best, some of the best teams in Europe to win the league.
Yeah.
We spoke, Gordon, to John McMaster a few weeks ago on this, and he believed, he still believes that was the greatest ever achievement by a Scottish team, because you've knocked out Bayern, you've knocked out obviously Real Madrid in the final. It was also been hugely complimentary, as you would have to be, the Lisbon Lions, and to what Celtic achieved in '67. Yes. Is it a case of, is it apples and pears? You cannot compare the two of them, or what's your thoughts on that?
No, I think it's sometimes unfair, because people ask me who's the best players you've played with, the best player. I just go, oh, what's the best club you've been to? Well, I don't know. I kind of laughed all the way there. So it's unfair to try and, it's like, who's the best player? Pele, Ronaldo, they're on different. Do we really know who's the best player? I don't think so. Well, our favourite player is different from the best player.
How can you judge?
How can you judge Ronaldo, Messi, Pele, Cruyff, Zidane? Really? How do we do it? It's the same with football teams. How can you how can you compare them, which is unfortunate. What you do know is both teams were full of characters with drive, energy, ability, with the world's best managers.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I do know. If you put them together and play against each other, wouldn't know? Couldn't tell you?
Tell me this, because I think you've hit the real crux of the matter here, Gordon, that, you know, Sir Alex, or Alex as he was then, what was it that he was able to do? And I know that he built this siege mentality, and it's the West Coast media, and it's this, and I think that was a really important bit of the psychology. Do you know a thing I remember from that kind of period was you guys would come down to Glasgow, and your warm-up, you'd wear bright yellow hoodies. And it was, I know, but it was almost something, there was almost something kind of quite impressive. It was very bright. Was that part of the psychology, do you think? Was that part of the, we're here and you'll notice us, or am I thinking too deeply in that? Because I remember
I think you're thinking too deeply, because we also had dirty brown Adidas training shoes. It was just whatever the cheapest stuff that we could get on. So if you look at it, it was just the rubbish that was lying about that we got for all these Adidas. Well, they actually sent us up towels and sunglasses, sun visors in Aberdeen.
Sun visors.
Really. So we got a heap of nonsense. So we'd wear it just because we got it for free.
Okay. Well, that's dispelled a myth that was in my own head then.
Yes. But the thing is, you rightly said, I'll briefly try and tell you. We all thought we were competitors as such, but we weren't really. We were bad-tempered, gurney, moany, wee kids. And he changed you from that into going, right, do you really want to win? Well, your whole life has to be ready to win. You have to, you know, give up everything to win, and you have to be disliked to win, and you have to change your personality or mentality if you want to really win. So he taught us what really winning meant. And people say, did they drive you on? Did they da-da-da-da-da? Did you drive you on to win? No, we were just scared of getting beat. Absolutely petrified of getting beat. That was that.
The kind of
and we
high point.
I suppose we could say we were bullied. You speak to Sir Alex now, you go, whoa, it was a bit rough. He went, I know, eh? So, but it's funny that people who are successful, who win, have never been bullied. How's that come about? They've been pushed, driven, cajoled. Not one, Andy Murray's, but all seem to go bullied. But if you can change it into cajoled, driven, da-da.
Well, the perfect examples after the 82 Scottish Cup final, you've just beaten Rangers 4-1 to lift the thing.
Listen,
and he's obliterated you.
I could go through the whole thing of that day. I've got to see when you speak to him about it, Sir Lex, and I'll keep it to the private calls, but it's funny. It really is funny. And I said to him now, I said, wouldn't even worry about this, because I thought it was, for me, it's made me laugh for the last 40 years. I thought it was hilarious. Not at the time, but for 40, I think it's brilliant. I think it's history. It's wonderful that that can happen after the game. At the time, it was like, what happened there? Would we just not win that? You know, you've got your winner's medal on the bus. Everybody's crying. They speak to each other. He's just slaughtered me. Willie and Alec. It's a funny thing about it. Willie and Alec, because Big Alec, because if you remember, they said Willie and Alec won it. McLeese Miller won it. McLeese Miller won it. And then you go, every time you see Big Alec, he goes, you still got that medal? Oh, one for you. Not got a clue where it is. Thank you.
Was it not quite an uncomfortable bus journey back up the road?
Well, to be fair, as we said, but just because you usually get that open top bus, I said, well, we'll only really need a tandem for you two to go. Willie and Alec on the tandem.
Did somebody not have to go and approach him and ask him for something on that journey back up to Pittodrie?
Yeah, but I can't even tell you that today. That's just too much.
Right, okay.
And even that, the whole journey, the whole day was hilarious. Honestly, it was great. But it just shows you that, and you just go, this is strange behaviour. But when you look back on it now, it's gold. It's absolute gold. And I wouldn't have missed it for the world. You know, when I sit down and say to Alec and all the rest of the boys, and it sounds, if you spoke to other people, it's brutal. And they go, how did you deal with that? I don't know, it's just part of my life. But I wouldn't have changed it for the world. Imagine if yourselves what would you pay to be in a dressing room with Sir Alex at his best? Just being in that dressing room. We had it for 300, 400 games. It was wonderful. It really was. At the time you think this is a bit much. But you think back now, how lucky are you to be in that point where Sir Alex, when he's roast, and that dressing room was at its rawest. It was unbelievable.
John McMaster
you could have created the energy from that. You know, you could have created the energy. Forget wind and sea and waves. You could have created the energy for that dressing room. You know.
And of course, when you left Aberdeen, you must have been thinking, well, that'll be the last time I'll be in a dressing room with Sir Alex, or Alex as he was then. Never quite panned out like that, did it?
Yeah, well, to be fair, I always knew he'd end up going somewhere because he come to the 85 Cup final and he was my guest at the final at night. And I was speaking because he'd been doing to speak to Tottenham, Arsenal or something like that. And in the 86 World Cup, he was in the room next to me. Again, long story, but I got to cut it short. And then one morning he was picking the team and all that, and he was saying to me, "What do you think of him?" Like, okay. Then he says, I said, "When are you think about moving on?" He went, "I'm only going to leave Aberdeen for Barcelona and Man United." And I went, "I hope to Christ it's Barcelona." What do you mean? What do you mean? I went, "Wow." So he turned up. So it's fine. And to be fair, I really should have known because, funny enough, Martin Edwards and people like that always kept asking me questions about Sir Alex and things like that. And me being naive, I thought they'll just be nice, but you could see that they were picking my brains for what Sir Alex was, you know, what he did.
The thing is, Gordon, right? We talked about 82, the reaction after the cup final, but a year later, you've won in Gothenburg. Does that not suggest to you that the standards he was demanding, as difficult as it might have seemed or been to take at the time, well, they manifested themselves in the greatest moment in the club's history?
That's right. Well, the standards were there everywhere. I mean, the standards were everywhere. Everything we did, the way we dressed, we did, you know, he'd know where we are, you know, discipline. It was like, even for the youth team players, my babysitter for a while was Brian Gunn and Eric Black. Because you say to them on a Saturday night, "Where are you going?" And I was thinking, no, you're babysitting for McGee or Strachan. So they worked both ways. So they wouldn't go out and have a drink. You know, the young men at 18, 19, they'd be babysitting for me and Mark and Wally Miller. And the other thing is, in the Monday morning, you get them in and go, what time did Strachan get in last night and Saturday night? So was with McGee? Yeah. Were they eat curries? Aye, they were. Okay, right. Okay.
Absolute genius.
The discipline was great. And I remember getting sent off against Tottenham in a friendly on a Tuesday night. So I got sent off. So he sent me up to Elgin with the B team the next again night. That's right, you're away to Elgin. Right, okay, way to Elgin. So the discipline was unbelievable.
Was it the same at United, Gordon, or was it even
absolutely
worse?
Completely different? Just turn up on Saturday, do what you want at Man United. You know, Man United. Oh, you're talking about Sir Alex?
Aye.
Oh, right.
Yeah, when he comes down.
Just took him a wee while to get it going there because he had huge characters there, and they had their own kind of. It was like a football party kind of atmosphere that we had at Man United. You know, so it took him a wee while to sort that out. Once he got his own people in, all the rest of it, and he got the discipline that he needed, then they become a different animal. But it took a wee while to get it done, that's for sure. But I bet everybody's glad now that they gave him that time to allow it to happen.
Because it was that I spoke recently with Archie Knox. He told me a story about Lee Sharp just signed for the club, bought himself in the first week, bought himself a big shiny, I don't know what it was, expensive car, flashy car, and Sir Alex was raging. And get Archie Knox to go in and say to Lee Sharp to get to his office, he's raging with you.
I was there when Lee signed, yeah.
Right. Yeah, so he never, suffice to say, he never brought that motor back to the training ground.
No. It was great, that stuff. Oh, it was great.
That's control freakery, though, isn't it?
Listen, it was basically what I was saying to somebody because he was speaking. What did he want? You never ever let your teammates down. That was a big thing. You never ever let your teammates down. and it also your family. There's loads of stories about that as well. But these are after dinner things for ages, and it's more than £250. So there's plenty there, but the discipline was phenomenal. We didn't like it. We thought it was rough, but it was the best thing that could ever happen to us.
Yeah, and obviously after United, you have an absolute Indian summer at Leeds, Gordon, and you won the top flight title and all that. But by this point, your ability to keep on going, to keep the legs going, to keep motoring, it was starting to defy logic and belief.
Yeah, and people ask you how you do that, and it was all down to, as far as it was concerned at that point, it was bananas.
And porridge.
Seaweed tablets, it was porridge. I slept in the afternoon. I did acupressure on myself. As I say, seaweed tablets. Wasn't much of a player, but I could swim better. But it wasn't that. Trust me, it wasn't that. That was helping. That's in minority gains, marginal gains.
Margins.
But it was all done at Dundee, running in the sand, doing it Silverhouse in Edinburgh, going to Gullen on a Sunday, run up down the sand and run until I dropped, threw up, go again. Working with Sir Alex, where he come and boot you the backside if you're on your knees, go again. Fainting at the Dens Park. I fainted here once. So all that kept me going. Whatever I did through my career, I always kept myself fit. And you add to it, the eating the right stuff, drinking the right stuff, sleeping at the right time, and all that kind of went on. But there's also a love of the game as well.
Yeah.
And people who you play with keep you going. Your people round about me, Gary Speed, David Batty, Gary McAllister, all these guys kept me going. And they kept me going because I was still an influence. The moment, it's the same as management, the moment you're not an influence, get out.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel at that point in your career you were playing some of your best stuff, Gordon? A different style of football?
I thought that some of the best stuff was at that period of time.
Yeah.
Because it's the only place I've ever been to where people say, listen, you sign for us, we need to get out of the championship, as you call it just now, or the club's in trouble. So somebody has actually went, here, take all this pressure and we trust you that much. And I thought, wow, never had that really before. And my job was to get the team up and working with great people. It was a great experience. I loved every minute. And you're right, as Southern West football was in that period of time. And but it was all down to the hard work that I'd done as a kid, the love of the game, and the responsibility I had. But playing with good players. That's the secret when you get older. It's playing with good players.
Yeah. In '95, Gordon, you've obviously moved on to Coventry again, still hitting exceptional standards as a player. But in '95, the career takes an interesting twist, doesn't it? You're offered the chance to step into management at Coventry, and you know the rest is history from that point on. Did you feel at that point that was where you wanted to go? I know that you'd love the game.
The reason I went to Coventry, because Ron was there and the chairman, Brian Richardson, who was fantastic, and they said to me, listen, come and join as a coach, but I ended up playing again as a player coach, because I become an influence there. I was no longer an influence at Leeds. That's why I stopped. I went to take the reserve team, but I played with them at the same time, which is a fantastic thing. I could coach them and be with them at the field. So I loved every minute of that. I was at Halifax. Then I went to Coventry because they said, come to Coventry, and when Ron packs in, you've got the job, guaranteed. So that's why I went there. And that worked out really well. And I really enjoyed that. It had been player manager, like enough, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, but that was it. You know, that was the new road that you were going to go down. It was kind of written in the stars that management was going to be the next thing for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So by the time you get to Southampton, Gordon, was that 2002?
2002, I think. 2001. Yeah. Something like that. 2001. Yeah.
Your personality started to really come out in terms of, you know, you became kind of famed for, you know, what was can we have a quick word? Yes, certainly, velocity, that sort of thing. Was that you growing into the job? Because that's the
no, that was me. First of all, I've got a sarcastic streak to me, which you know, and I like people laughing, so I like to try and make people laugh. But also, it's a defensive mechanism as well. When you're in an interview sometimes, and I say some things, you think, "Oh, did I really say that?" But it was a mechanism to throw, because you know fine well, it's like when you're at these big clubs, it's 1 against 40 out there. And the press are flying in from everywhere. It's like being on trial. Why did you do that? Oh, just because I wanted to, But and you see some spotty who's never played football in his life asking about your tactics. Really? You're asking me that? Right. Anyway.
Sorry, Gordon.
Sorry, David. I forgive you. It was just to throw people off sometimes, to throw them away from where it was meant to be going.
Right.
And sometimes listen. I look back and sometimes, but I've always kind of apologised to anybody I thought I'd been over the top to and things like that. But sometimes you're at a club and you just feel the whole world's against you at that point. And
that was heavy pressure at Southampton.
It's amazing that Klopp, Mourinho, but it's they're very, very good after that, but because they're always fucking winning. Try and be on the other side. It's a different thing. And it's funny when they actually get beat, you can see them going, "Well, I don't like this." So you're getting
Yeah, you can.
Klopp's been really prickly over the last few while, hasn't he?
They'll change. When you're winning, it's fine. Life's great. So, so it was a kind of defensive mechanism as well.
And then, Gordon, obviously, the Celtic job arrives. Unexpected?
In a way, but I bumped into Dermot a couple of months previous, 3 or 4 months previous, and I'd never met him before in my life. And he said to me, "Listen, if the Celtic job does come up," because I promised my wife to take a break from football, which we did. We went to Europe. We always do that, and go to Australia. And I met Dermot, and he was great. And I went, "Right, okay," but I never thought about it, and I didn't know why. But then I found out that Martin, his missus will have a bit of a problem, and I went, "Okay, let's go for it then." And then I go, "Right, okay, let's go. That'd be great. I can spend loads of money and it'd be great." I thought I knew about Celtic, and I got there. Then Peter said to me, "Oh, just a second. It's not the same Celtic as it was for the last 4 years. We need to cut back on this. We need to cut the wages. We need to do that." I went, all right, okay. That's fine. But anyway, it ended up fantastically well.
Yeah. But when you talk about, pressure situations, you've gone in, you've taken over from Martin O'Neill after the job that he's just done.
Yeah.
He's got in a European final. Your first European match was Bratislava, which didn't go particularly well. Yeah. I remember you telling me that your watch had stopped at the press conference after the game. You said
the ball had stopped. And then, as I said to somebody, I said, on my headstone on top of my grave, it'll have, "This is still better than Bratislava." What a night that was. Everything could go wrong. Even the training before it, there's people missing training because they thought they could go and speak to other clubs. And, "Well, you did. Oh, I can speak." No, you can't. You have to be at training. Nobody knew Paul Telford. He just turned up 2 days before. Chris Sutton, he broke his jaw within 20 minutes. Lenny ran into him. So everything that went wrong could possibly go wrong. But that's when Dermot come down after the game. I went, "Don't worry about it. It's never a problem with me. You'll only see me when you're in trouble." And he was right. When I needed help, he was there. He's a fantastic chairman owner, and when he needed help and when I needed defended, he would be there, which was great.
To recover from that start, to go on and win the title and lay the foundations that you did, Gordon, that's an achievement in itself, wasn't it? That was an achievement in management alone, just that first season.
Yeah. But as I said, the best thing I ever did was get Tommy to join me and make me understand the whole Celtic thing, the mentality of the supporters and everything else. So that was the best thing. So, matter of fact, even if I'd lost and got the sack after whatever it was, a year, I was still met Tommy Burns, as you know, one of the nicest people you can ever meet. So that was a huge bonus, and actually getting beside me. And again, he's another 2 years worth of material if he speaks about Tommy, because he was incredibly funny, just at the wrong times. You know what I mean? He was, and if you've ever got 2 years, I'll sit and talk to you about him one night. But it was, I wouldn't have liked to, live my life. If I thought I didn't get the Celtic job and missed that, you'd probably say, well, that's only one regret in life, would be not being the Celtic manager. But I managed to get that job and did reasonably well. Yeah.
And then Gordon, just to talking about boxes to tick, Scotland manager. That's that given what you'd done as a player, to then have the pride involved in managing your country. I mean, that it's almost bingo at that point, isn't it? You've almost crossed over.
It was perfect for me at the time. I didn't want to do the full management thing. I still like the coaching. I still like the day, and I'll probably end up going out there the day doing some stuff with the younger players. It was perfect for me. I worked with a great bunch of players. I thought they were terrific, and if you didn't like them, you never picked them again. It was great. Making some excuses, didn't fit the system or something like that. You go. So you've not got this somebody on a 4-year contract you can't get rid of at a club. You just go bang, see you, you're not back again. So it was great, and intensity, and I worked with these guys, and I loved the way they worked. We tried a couple of things. We changed the system a few times. I still believe that Scotland been beating players and things. Matter of fact, my problem, my biggest downfall is that I want to manage a team that I like watching. I like playing. I'm not so good at going right. Occasionally, I'll do it when you're playing against the AC Milans or something like that.
Try and get a 0-0.
Right, fine. I'll try and do that, but even then, I still want to have a bit of flair in it. I still have to have your Maloney's or this and that in the team, and the boys that can take people on. So that's probably one of my weaknesses. Probably that I want to see football as a manager that I like watching. So that was one of probably my downfalls, is if there was one. But I was quite pleased with a lot of the stuff that went on. Yeah. And I've got to say that on the 5 years there, we never had 1 ounce of trouble behind the scenes with the players. Not 1 ounce of trouble. They were a great bunch to work with.
Stevie Clark always says that he initially found the transition to not having the boots on the grass every day in life, to working with players once every 3 months, sort of thing, for maybe very short, intense periods. Did you find that as well? Was that?
No, I enjoyed it, because I had many years of being every day, David, every day, and dealing with players' problems every day. The intent and dealing with them. You very rarely got players' problems when they come along as well, because you've got, as a manager, deal with the problems on and off the pitch. But there, it's probably just you're ending up. Anybody expecting you the internationals feels good about themselves. But when you're at a club, there's usually about 3 or 4 players that you have to keep talking to, deal with. There's a problem with, then you coach and things like that. So this was perfect, and if there's a player you have to deal with. Normally at clubs, you've got 1 or 2 problem players that you have to deal with, spend time. As I said to you, international, if there's a problem, they're not coming again, because you're affecting the squad. And so you're generally dealing with a lot of people that were great people. You've got Brown there, Snoddy was there, all the people like that. They were smashing. Nazy was great fun. They were all. Barry Bannon was wonderful, a funny kid, great technique. The wingers that were there, Ketchiani were there at the time. Smashing. We brought in the younger players like Robertson, and to see him developing, Robertson and Tierney, wonderful.
Yeah, I look at it, Gordon, and you could see the clear progress that was being made, and we were getting there. But you now look, I think Stevie Clark's done a great job to get us back. But I'm looking at the talent pool he's picking from. You were picking guys that were playing in the second tier of English football. If we had players playing in the second tier of English football, that was probably going to be good enough. That was as high as it went for us. Whereas now you're looking at Arsenal, Man United. Billy Gilmore was at Chelsea, Andy Robertson at Liverpool. the calibre of player has gone up an incredible level.
Yeah, also, I can say that. But Steve has been more pragmatic, which the three centre backs and full backs as again start with us. There is a more physical presence in the team. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that, which is great. So Stephen, I think Steve took the base of a good group of lads and well organised group of lads, and he's got his own way of doing it, and it's more pragmatic, which is great. It's worked out fantastic for him, and really pleased, especially the bunch of lads that I work with are still there. John McGinn, just
unreal.
You can't go wrong with people like that, you know. People, the humility he has, and if you look at these good players, they have humility. And if you have humility, then you'll be able to understand that you can get better. If you do not have humility, you're not going to get any better.
No.
So that's why John McGinn, I'll tell you the story I picked him, and I'll try and leave it at that because I've been on here too long. I went to see under 21s. That I had a spare week. I'll go and watch under 21s. They're training. So they were over. I was staying in Marhall. They stayed over in the place across the water. We come to Marhall. First of all, I was there at 9 o'clock. Then I got a call at 9:30. We're not coming this afternoon. 7 players are suffering from stiffness. You what? Stiffness. It's a Monday morning. That's party. That's party. So we're training at 3:30. Oh, the stiffness is gone at 3:30. Really? So I'm wasting. Right. Okay. So eventually they come across at 3:30, and the bus arrives, and you've got to walk about 300 yards to the training field. It's a fantastic training area. So the bus arrives. So I've seen all the players come off with the headphones and all the rest of it, and they head off down to the training field. So I see a physio. And the players walk past his physio or a massage guy working the massage, and he's picking up the mannequins and he's picking up bags, and it's like Buckaroo. He's got everything on his back. This pair lad, this player's walking by him. Then I see walking around the corner comes John McGinn, and John goes right, and he picks up 4 mannequins. It was quite heavy, and he takes some stuff off the lad, and I thought, I like that. He's looking after other people. Well, the rest went, I'm off. John McGinn went, and I thought, that says a bit about him.
Yeah, his character.
That says a bit about him. He's genuinely interested in helping people. And I think that's it, that's the story of John McGinn. And that's why John McGinn is where he is right now. His ability, he's got better. His strength is always there. But he had this humility that makes him what he is today.
Sure.
Brilliant, Gordon. Listen, I know we've taken you way too long. I'll praise myself for that. But listen, that was an hour well spent. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you very much.